This is the Black Panther Town Hall with Image Award nominee for Entertainer of the Year, Chadwick Boseman, Image Award winner for Entertainer of the Year, Michael B. Jordan, Academy Award winner, Lupita Nyong'o, Saturn Award winner, Danai Gurira, and Sundance Film Award-winning director, Ryan Coogler. Now, here's your special guest host from Sway in the Morning on SiriusXM Shade 45, Sway.
Well, damn, round of applause, man. What a big old intro.
That intro was crazy.
You like that?
That was a nice intro.
Wow. First and foremost, I want to welcome this beautiful, amazing, astonishing cast from Black Panther here with us here at SiriusXM. All of them are phenomenal in their own right with all the works that they've done individually, and to seeing them come together for this movie, which I had a chance to see, which will change your life.
Yes.
It would. Yeah. I suggest that you take your grandparents, you take your children, you take your friends, you take your enemies to see this movie as well. What a real cultural milestone this movie has turned out to be. Already pre-sales upward to $165 million. Come on, man. Just Ryan's third film, and he already got a $200 million budget. Come on, man. And the man happens to be where I'm from, Oakland, California, Bay Area, Richmond. Stand up. Come on, man. I want to welcome you all to the show. Danai, I'm not sure if you've been on our show before.
I have not. I am honored to be here for the first time.
Well, you know, after seeing you play that role in the movie, I was scared not to invite you. So, welcome. Everybody else has been on this show. And I want to thank you. You know, it was interesting about Ryan. I've been watching you for a long time. We grew up in the same part of the country. And you may not know this, but we actually had students from your old high school, St. Mary's, come up on our show and sit down in our broadcast studios and learn a lot about radio, the ins and outs. The assistant athletic director, Mo Ali, brought them up here. In the process, I had a chance to speak with Mr. Olivier.
Oh man,
Mr. O. Can you share who that is to people?
Oh, so Mr. Olivier was he was one of the. I went to a Catholic school in the Bay Area. It was in Berkeley, which is a city in between Richmond and Oakland, which is the two cities I call home. And it was a school like a lot, like if you was a good athlete, you know what I'm saying, you would go there, you know. And Mr. Olivier was one of the few black teachers there, and he taught theater arts there. And I literally just took his class because he was a black teacher, you know what I'm saying. So I was like, I'm gonna hop in his class. And he'll have us, he'll have us on stage doing all kind of wild stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. He spoke highly of you. He said even then that he knew that you had perfect timing. He said you were a very exceptional writer as well, and that you were a humanitarian. I spoke with Mr. Puck as well.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to tell him who Mr. Puck is?
Wow. Yeah, Mr. Puck. He was the head of admissions. When I was at school, but he also he ran a film club. I wasn't in the film club though, but he ran the film club at school. So Mr. Puck was a dude. He came to my elementary school. He would recruit kids, you know, specifically kids that was trying to increase diversity at the school. So I met Mr. Puck when I was in the 8th grade.
Yeah. You know, and some of the things they said about you, and when I watched the movie, it made sense to me. And we'll talk with everybody, obviously, but, you know, me and this guy from the same soil. They said you were a humanitarian. You know, you walked around the school with a lot of dignity. He told me about a story of where, you may not remember this, but there was a time that they used to do little break dance circles or dance circles at the school. Or you remember
it was
that?
80s day. No, yeah. It was 80s day. We didn't just do that on the normal.
Okay, it was 80s day. Okay, I thought y'all were breaking. Okay.
I know exactly. Oh my God.
And there was a time when one of the kids was being, you know, ostracized and teased, and they were trying to get him to go in a circle, and so they could make fun of him. And Mr. Puck said that what you did is you volunteered to go in a circle with that kid to protect him, to make sure the other kids didn't tease him.
Wow.
And which is on his own.
Commendable.
You know? And when I start hearing these stories and I look at this movie, you know, Ebro and I got a chance to see the movie with Heather B and Tracy G, and him and I were talking about it afterwards, and he put a posting saying, you know, the day of this movie, don't let take your kids out of school. You know, it's important for them to see, right? And I co-signed that and retweeted it. I could see it. I could feel who you are as an individual, in this movie. You know, when I start watching the movie and I start seeing the visualization that I saw, I can't say too much, so I'm gonna try to tiptoe through this. You know, but I grew up watching reading Black Panther. You know, to me, Black Panther was more powerful than Superman or any other comic book character, because that's the one I can identify with. And, you know, in this social climate right now, we're hearing a lot of derogatory things, a lot of derogatory feelings towards nations of color. So when I watch the portrayal of Wakanda, you know, and I start seeing the visualization come to life, and I start seeing these pulls from different African nations and how you portrayed this this intellectually advanced, this technologically advanced place, I felt like this was more than a comic book, you know, character or a comic book fictional place. What were you trying to do? What were you hoping to accomplish the way you portrayed Wakanda?
You know, I wanted to obviously do service to the books you talked about reading. You know, and it wasn't lost on me that these were comics that had existed for over 50 years. You know, that's a lot longer than I've been around. You know, so I wanted to be respectful and really harness the great work that the artists had put into those books. You know, and we had some incredible Black artists that and writers that wrote on those books. You know, from Christopher Priest to Reginald Hudlin, to right now Ta-Nehisi Coates has custody of those stories. So I wanted to honor that. But at the same time, we wanted to pull Wakanda into the real world. Like I thought what Marvel Studios did well with their films is, you know, when Iron Man runs around LA, or when aliens fall out of the sky in Avengers in New York City, it feels like the LA that we know. You know what I'm saying? It feels like the New York that we know. So it feels more real and more urgent. You know what I mean? So I wanted Wakanda to feel like a tactile place. So I wanted to pull from the continent of Africa. You know what I mean? And pull from different cultures there on the continent. And pull from our history there on the continent, you know, to construct how the buildings look, you know, the clothes that the characters would wear, but more importantly, how the characters treated each other. You know,
what nations did you actually pull from? Like, what kind of research did you do?
Man, we researched we researched heavy. You know, in comics they'll tell you like that Wakanda was like where some of the first human beings were. So in our mindset, that kind of gave us. You know, in our MCU version of Wakanda, we said, man, maybe all, you know, continental African nations and tribes kind of come from there. So we pulled from all over the continent. You know, specifically Chadwick in the first film that the Black Panther appeared in, Civil War. You know, he speaks to his father in the language Osa. Is my click okay? It was all right. Yeah. It's a very ancient language. It's native to Southern Africa. You know, and you know, so we kind of said if that's the Wakandan language that we inherited for the film, you know, let's start there first. You know, so I was able to go to the continent, spend some time in South Africa. Heard about a place called the Kingdom of Lesotho. Traveled there, spent some time there, and then I went to Nairobi to spend some time with this lovely young lady's family in Kenya, and went around, did a lot of research there as well. And then I had to get married a few weeks after that, so my wife called. She was like, "Time's up." So I had to slide back. I had to slide back on that first thing, smoking back to the Bay. You know what I'm saying? But those are the places where we started, and we hired some amazing talent. You know what I mean? Like that was you know, not only from the continent, but aware of the cultures there. And the research, you know, frankly, it never stopped. Our production designer Hannah Beekler combined, like, you know, we worked on like a 500-page Bible for Wakandan history and what Wakanda was, and
wow,
and you know, handed that to the actors, and they put their own input in, and you know, we were constantly going at it the whole time that we were making the film.
You know, one of the things that I also noticed, and I'm gonna pass the mic because I know we've limited on time, is the technology that was displayed in the movie. You know, reminding me, I was sitting next to Heather B, and you know, I've heard of vibranium, you know, but I was looking at the consistency of some of the inventions that we see for the first time in this movie, and it gave me a feeling like when we used to watch the Jetsons. You know, we see all these different, you know, futuristic inventions, and now we're living in all of it, right? You know, same with Star Trek. I'm a first-generation Trekkie. I'm also a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, the physicist. So we talk quantum physics and all sorts of stuff, and I was just really impressed by the continuity in the movie. Did you have an expert or a consultant on? Who was that? What kind of things did they do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a program called the Science Entertainment Exchange that Marvel Studios is connected with, and it's basically a group of scientists that love movies and they want movies to get the science right. So our executive producer Nate Moore, who's another black man who works at Marvel Studios and produced Winter Soldier and Civil War, hooked me up with them as soon as we signed on. So my co-writer Joe Robert Cole and myself, we had access to scientists that and historians that worked in terms of African historical studies. A big thing about vibranium is that it has sonic capabilities. So we did a lot of talking to professors about applied military sciences that sound can use, and not only what it's doing now, but also where it could be in the future, because Wakanda is a place we wanted to exist kind of in the future. You know what I mean? So we had the access there, but that program is one that's real tight with Marvel.
I think the fusion between the future and then the tradition, like customs and traditions from African nations, I thought that was done brilliantly. They walked hand in hand, as I imagined they walked hand in hand centuries ago. Heather B, you want to jump in?
I do. Lupita and Danai, Ryan, congratulations on this. But as a woman, I was absolutely blown away seeing these women on stage. I was just blown away, along with Angela Bassett as well. I don't want to forget seeing her and what I felt when she appeared on that screen. It was just regal, and there was something about the way you guys carried yourself, the way you were dressed, the way you fought, just as women, protecting your men, protecting your country, when you made the decision to cast these women and have a female art, what were you thinking? Like, what was the spark behind that?
I mean, their characters in the books, like and it's one of the more famous parts about the Black Panther and Wakanda are the Dora Milaje. Invented by Christopher Priest, but really just like taking to new heights. With these new iterations. Looking at what Ta-Nehisi Coates done. Roxanne Gay as well. And so we wanted to do our part in terms of that. I had gotten to know Lupita when Mike and I were running around with Fruitvale. Really was taken with her and wanted to work with her. If we ever got the opportunity. And I saw a film while I was at Sundance with Fruitvale called Mother of George by an incredible filmmaker named Andrew Dansumu, shot by Bradford Young, who's a great cinematographer. And Danai is the film is about this incredible Nigerian woman in New York. If you haven't seen that film, go see it. But I saw the movie and I was like, y'all got to work with that lady someday.
Yeah.
And I saw her, doing her thing on Walking Dead and all that stuff. But that performance in Mother of George was kind of in my mind when I was working with Joe to write the character of Okoye. Fortunately enough, they was into it. They said yes, and we was able to get to work. But a lot of those characters is in these artists. A lot of Danai is in that character. A lot of Lupita is in that character.
Beautifully done, ladies. So inspiring.
Absolutely. There's so many elements of excellence that can just be analyzed all throughout the corners of the movie. But like Heather, to see Team Estrogen just killing it, the Black edition of Team Estrogen just killing it, like, spoke to my soul. And we're still in a time where progress needs to be made in a lot of our minds. A lot of deconditioning needs to happen, and people can be insecure about seeing autonomous women in these positions of leadership. So for the both of you guys, what do you say to those who are still uncomfortable with seeing women in positions of power? How do you feel like this role can maybe change their minds?
I think what's really awesome about Wakanda is that, I really do say Wakanda forever indeed, because it really portrays a place where those problems don't exist. Mm-hmm. And we can see how it actually, go figure, is the most advanced nation on the globe, And so it really is something to really learn from. Like, when women are able to just realize and actualize their greatness and their fullest potential without it being something that, is highlighted in some like garish way, but it's just there, it's just what is. And it allows everyone understands, the king understands, the men understand, everyone gets it. This is what allows our nation to advance and to be progressive and to be at the forefront. Then that really is a thing. It's like, do we want to progress? If we want to progress, let women be all they can be. Don't get in their way.
Right. Boom. Mic drop. What about for you, Lupita?
I would say exactly the same.
Lupita's like plus one.
That's pretty good. Lupita, your character, you pretty Nakia's pretty much she's a spy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she shows a lot of resilience in the character. Well, how much commonality is her being a spy and you being Lupita is there?
Well, Nakia.
Don't answer.
Yeah, I know that wouldn't be very wise to answer that authentically or honestly. But anyway, no, Nakia is, she's very independent. She's very, she's a lone wolf. Where the Dora Milaje work as a pack, she works on her own. And I love that we were given that kind of distinction, that indeed the women in this film, we occupy our own space, we're unique, we're powerful in our own right, and we work together in many ways. But Nakia being a lone wolf and being out there in the world, she sees the world very differently from the way Okoye sees the world. And she also is, she sees the future of Wakanda differently from how, say, T'Challa starts off seeing the future. And so, but she's loyal to her country. So she, there's this tension in her that I really admire and respect. I'd say I was similar in the sense that I feel like I like to, make my own way in the world. And I also feel it's important to make my people proud. So I get that. But Nakia definitely has a stealth about her that I wish I possessed. And she's also a badass. I mean, she can hurt you a little more than I could.
Do you think about the impact that these roles? I mean, this is your job. Obviously, this is what you do. You guys act. All you guys gonna have 1,000 roles before it's done and said. But not every role is gonna impact generations of kids, especially in this case, young girls. Of people of color and across the board. Do you think of that? Does Danai, when you go into this role, Lupita, you want to make sure you don't screw up the lines? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I mean that's everything to me. That's just, and I know to Lupita too. I mean that's just everything. My heart, my passion is all around women and girls, and specifically also on the continent where there are just massive disparities that stop them from getting to their fullest potential. And and I was so excited to be a part of this, and I sat down with Ryan, but I needed to hear the vision, which was so fantastic and so rooted in authenticity and in real powerfully interesting women, because that's deeply important to me, how women of African descent are portrayed, especially on this scale, and the knowledge that is going to have an impact on girls, because imagery does, representation does. And so it was very, very important I know to both of us, because that's everything to me. It's that understanding that little black girls need to have of their greatness and of the fact that they can do anything and all things, and they can be fierce and feminine at the same time, and it's all good.
It's all good.
So that was very important to me.
All right. Let's get to these men too. Men got, we could be fierce too, y'all. These men.
No. Listen.
You know what I mean, Mike?
I've been talking so much that it's fine.
It's okay.
It's completely fine. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to say I can ask some of these questions without giving
giving it away. Yeah.
Giving it away.
Yeah.
So bear with me. All right, Chadwick, let's start with you, though. You got Robert Downey Jr., who had 3 Iron Man films, right? You got, we had Chris Hemsworth there.
Yes.
3 Thor films. Chris Evans, who's had 3.
Yeah.
Captain America.
Captain America.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is your first, as Black Panther, this is it, man. It's all centered around you, and like I was saying earlier, this is a big deal to a lot of young people from disenfranchised areas who never got a chance to see a superhero portrayed, in the way that you're being portrayed. I mean, you've done Black Panther before, in Captain America, Civil War, but this is the movie, How is it different from what you've done before when you approach this movie? And do you think about that as well?
How is it different than Civil War, or how is it different than the other movies that I've done?
Civil War.
Civil War. Well, this experience was one. I think the responsibility of, we were creating a world, and we were creating a world that we had to believe in, even though it's a fictitious, African nation. It's a fantasy. I think we knew we had to, as Ryan talks about the various places that he was pulling from. It needed to be done to feel like it was real and concrete. So there was a sort of anxiety and fear about us not getting that right, and it not being tactile, as he talked about. And for me, my whole focus was on the bigger picture of what Wakanda was going to be. So just to see it come into fruition, to see it manifested in this way, and to see the reaction of little kids who haven't even seen the movie yet, but are dressed up as Black Panther, but not just dressed up like Black Panther, but dressed up as Shuri and Okoye and Nakia. That's amazing. That's amazing to me that the idea of this, that seed has actually manifested it into an entire world that we now get to exist in and play in, and people understand the cosmology of it. It's the feeling of it is incredible.
It's incredible. I love that word, cosmology. Did you
You just say that?
You do an incredible job in it, and I'm trying to. There's something I noticed. It's a lot of parallels that I we all watch. We look at a painting, we all gonna see something different. We watch a movie, we all get something different. But there were a lot of parallels that I could draw from it that we could see in everyday life, especially in America, in the Black community. And Michael B. Jordan, your character, throughout the film, you're gonna see conflict of ideology. Okay,
between us.
Yes. I don't want to do too much.
No, but it's okay. It's okay to go there a little bit. Just don't be specific.
Okay, I won't be specific.
Try to be broad.
But it reminded me when we used to study Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X, right? And in their approach to self-determination, right? They all wanted the same thing. They wanted to elevate their people, but everybody just had different ways of going about to do it. I see that in this a little bit without giving too much away. And so it's hard to say who's the villain. Is there a villain, Michael B., in this?
That's a great point. I feel like, there's an antagonist and a protagonist.
Okay.
I think to service the story, that we're trying to tell about, T'Challa being king, he needs to be challenged. He needs to, he has a lot of strengths, and I represent some of his weaknesses. And to kind of have that conversation between the two. We're both saying, valid points. We both have a valid argument, and so to answer your question is like, is he a bad guy? Is he a villain? It's like, for the story, yeah, but I think we wanted people to have a hard time to choose who to root for. What do you take from both arguments? And to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause at the end of the day, coming out of the film, this should be a conversation. And I'm looking forward to those moments.
So we got to keep talking after the film premieres.
We're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And I think. And I'll take it a little further so you feel confident.
Okay. Thank you, man.
There's a
put it on chat, make it do it.
Yeah, his movie, y'all. Listen. I've been holding the secrets for a long time, so the conversation between the African on the continent and the African American that happens in this movie is one that it's a long time coming, So the fact that we get to have that conversation and the world is privy to it, they finally understand some of what we've been going through. We get to understand ourselves, some of the weight that's been on us, because we get to see it depicted in this way, in this theatrical way, and I feel like that conversation frees us to a certain degree. Even though it's still a superhero movie, you're still gonna see stuff blow up. You're still gonna see fight scenes and all of that. I love the fact that we didn't shy away from the conversation that needed to happen, because that ultimately is the question. How, and I won't elaborate more. How does this nation exist and it's never been conquered? How does it exist in Africa and it's never been colonized and it's never been enslaved? And while that was happening, what were they doing?
So you gave up a lot of game right there. Y'all see the movie, well put. And I'm not going,
I'm just selling the fight.
You still in the fight, yeah. We all still in the fight.
No, I'm selling the fight.
Oh, you're selling the fight.
I'm selling the fight. I'm selling the fight.
I was ready to go to war, man. I'm Wakandian too, brother. I won't talk about their physique in the movie. I'm not sure if that's appropriate right now. But these brothers really worked out for the roles. Okay, what I want to do, I want to let everybody get a question, as many as possible. So DB, you want to come over here and talk to some of our... That's DB, right, by the way. Go.
What's going on?
Hello, I'm Bevy Smith. I have a show here called Bevelations. Hi, Ryan.
What's up, Bevy?
Good to see you,
How you
my
been?
love. I'm so happy for you.
Oh, right on, Bevy.
When he won the HBO short film contest, I was the host, and I was your first interview, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
It's
You've
good
come
to
a
see
long
you.
way, baby.
All right on.
Doing the damn thing. Chadwick, in my mind, you've been playing superheroes for a long time, from Thurgood Marshall to James Brown to Jackie Robinson, right?
Yeah,
Clap it up.
All right.
So was this more of a challenge playing a fictional superhero than playing a real life one? Because you have so much history to mine from when you're actually playing a real character. I mean, a real person.
In truth, it's the same. I thankfully, I had a lot of material to draw from, and Ryan has already talked about that. Even just looking at the various writers and seeing what they added to what Black Panther is, going through that process, and thinking about, I think there's more exploration here, because what's different about it is those stories have a beginning and end. Those great men that they've already given their contributions to the world. With this, the beauty of the fantasy of Wakanda is that you have the opportunity to pull from all the things that you love from the continent, and it's a labor of love in a different way, but it's still the same research. It's still, the same responsibility to a certain degree, and it's still like, two of those roles, James Brown and Jackie Robinson, were very, very physical roles like this one, and I would say that it's because of that I was ready to do this. And so I will never say anything is harder than playing James Brown, ever, ever. Yeah, like all of it, because you got to smile while you're tired and sing. So, but they're all comparable experiences, and they're very similar.
Hi, my name is Karen Hunter. I host the hottest show in the galaxy on SiriusXM. The Karen Hunter Show. We're on Urban View, which is devoted to the global majority. And first, let me just thank Sway and his whole team for inviting us to ask a question. I appreciate it. You've created a little Wakanda here, and my hope is that it spreads, that people understand that we all are in the same boat and we can work together. I was at the Twitter event last night, and I'm going to ask a question because Sway asked all my questions that I'm sure he wouldn't ask. Lupita, there's a push-up challenge. Yeah. And I want to know the genesis of it, and I want to know, what the rules are.
Oh, okay. So this was my cultural orientation. Ryan and Chadwick and Michael introduced me to the on-call push-ups that they said their community does. When you win a bet,
Our tribe.
your tribe, when you win a bet, then the person, you decide on how many push-ups are on the table. And if you lose the bet, then you get to do the push-ups whenever you're asked to. So yesterday was he lost yesterday. So he lost a bet, and I have 6 push-ups. And yesterday was yesterday. Yesterday was a first. I have 5
You
now.
got 5. Yeah.
Would you like to do one right now?
Come on, Mike. Give it up, Mike. Michael B. Jordan, y'all. Come on.
Is that official? That's official.
Yes. Okay, here we go. All right, All right, go ahead, Mike.
In the vest?
Yeah, do it like Creed with one arm, bro. One arm.
One arm.
Hey, man, she cold-blooded. She cold. Y'all talking about this? Did y'all talk about this? No, okay.
She's a plant. She's a plant. She's a plant.
Mike was over. He was like, "Oh my God!"
Right now, but I'm so glad. Thank you.
No mercy.
Oh man.
Well, that was awesome. I won't make you do any challenges.
Appreciate it, man.
But I do have a question. First of all, the cast is fantastic. You guys did incredible work. I was able to see the movie. Cheers to you, Ryan. Dang, there's a moment in there when you descended from the upper level to a lower level. I won't give that part away, but I've never seen a dissension like that before. And so cheers to you for owning that part in that space. Michael, I want to talk to you for a second, though. Your role is very interesting to me, and I found your role to be very curious the entire time I was watching it. And I think your role really speaks to identity and agency. And those are 2 things that we talk about a lot as a nation. Those are 2 things we talk about a lot as a Black people, right? Identity politics, identity of self, and then agency, owning our identity and how that works. And so I'm curious for you, when we think about identity and agency, what do you hope the takeaway is for Black men as they watch your character, and as you explore and go through the evolution of your journey? What do you hope that we will talk about in the barbershops or at brunch or at church?
It's a great question.
That's Mike Muse, by the way. He does the Mike Muse show on the POTUS Network every Saturday.
Yeah,
right.
The Mike Muse show.
Without giving away too much about my character, I feel like I want people to take away the thirst of wanting to know where you come from. You know, of knowing your history, your heritage, your culture, and unapologetically owning it, and not being ashamed of where you come from. You know, we've been, taught, to not take pride in, who we are and where we come from. And I feel like, with my character, he kind of embodies the frustration and the rage of that, of not knowing where you come from. And so I think just the want, of kind of knowing your background and what kind of a difference that would make, what I'm saying, if you felt confident in where you come from and your history, and if you had that knowledge, how much more proud you would be, walking around this world, how much more confident in your capabilities and opportunities, would be available to you. Just that walk of normalcy, I think is really important. So yeah, that's kind of what, if that answers that.
Yeah, a bomb ass answer.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Got the blood going.
Mark Thompson, host of Make It Plain here on SiriusXM.
Hello.
Thank you for including me, my brother. First of all, congratulations. It's amazing. Chadwick, I want to thank you last night for acknowledging John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben, and I can only imagine what they would have felt about this, and also for acknowledging African ancestry. And I just want to say, you mentioned that you and Michael being 2 sides of the same coin, and you're right, Sway, we see things differently, but the 2 goddesses who are here, one a general, one a spy, that kind of invoked Harriet Tubman for me. That's just what kind of came through on the screen for me. But here's my question, Ryan, or whoever wants to answer it. We know about vibranium, and we know overall the exploitation of Africa when it comes to its mineral wealth, particularly the one great technological mineral that we all use now with our phones and everything, coltan. Does this movie also require us or invoke in us a responsibility to make Wakanda real when it comes to Africa today and ending that exploitation that's going on of our mineral wealth on the continent right now?
Wow,
I was itching to respond to that only because the thing for me, I'm an American-born Zimbabwean, so I'm Zamerican, and so that tension has been alive in me for so long, and so this film was addressing so many things for me in so many ways, but the idea of a nation uncolonized, because my nation only got decolonized in 1980, which is really, really recent. So that sort of the idea of the fragmentation that happens and the assault of colonization, and how that gap, that void that exists is this thing that says, I'll never know who I would have been without this. I'll never know how we would have evolved ourselves. And I love that Wakanda actually represents this place, like what we could have done, and the fact that indeed the continent is so rich with so many resources that we don't actually get to use for ourselves, and the results of the conflicts of war and the, you know, the very, like, there's several corrupt governments and all sorts of things that actually hinder our growth. I mean, absolutely, I think it's a global concern, and to me also, it's something my own, on the continent, I want us to think about very deeply. When they watch this, I was just in Zimbabwe last month, and there's such passion around this film, and you know, the responses that have already happened in the U.S. of watching it. I'm really excited for what's going to happen there as well, because there's a self-determination process that we must continue to claim, and I feel like Wakanda represents something that we have to aspire to, because we are that great, and we've got to get there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's just go to our listeners who are here. Give them a round of applause. The subscribers. For without you, there would be no SiriusXM. Thank you. Go ahead, you guys have a quick question.
Hi, I'm Jonah Kilday. The question's for the panel. Has the panel experienced the social impact from the African American community yet? And if so, would you share a personal story?
Anybody want to take this?
I think you didn't hear the question.
Well, I think we're all watching what's happening. This is taking on a life of its own. And so you can't help but see, you know, the videos of kids, you know, responding to the fact that they're going to the movie. You know, for myself, I get the benefit of you know, sending some people, some kids in my hometown, and knowing that this is going to be a great experience for them. And so I think all of it is very personal. This was a personal endeavor for all of us. So watching how people respond to it, watching people create their own posters, create their own, you know, seeing kids like recreate our posters actually. You know, yesterday I had it was a little girl named Camila who gave a Valentine's Day card to me, and you know, that's a very real thing. It just to experience that I mean that much, that she cut out a heart and did it before any grown woman did it. like my ladies out there watching. Yeah, she beat you. She beat you. So yeah, all of his, you know, all of it's been very personal. Just watching the kids experiencing, and for me, I would say, you know, there are two little kids, Ian and Taylor, who recently passed from cancer. And throughout our filming, I was communicating with them, knowing that they were both terminal. And what they said to me is, and their parents said, they're trying to hold on till this movie comes. And to a certain degree, you hear them say that, and you're like, wow, that's like, I gotta get up and go to the gym. I gotta get up and go to work. You know, I gotta learn these lines. I gotta work on this accent. You know, seeing how devoted all of my castmates are, and knowing that will be something meaningful to them. But it's, to a certain degree, it's a humbling experience, because you're like, this can't mean that much to them, you know. But seeing how the world has taken us on, seeing how the movement is, how it's taken on a life of its own, I realized that they anticipated something great. And I think back now to a kid, and just, you know, waiting for Christmas to come, waiting for my birthday to come, waiting for a toy that I was going to get a chance to experience, or a video game. I did live life waiting for those moments. And so it put me back in the mind of being a kid, just to experience those two little boys' anticipation of this movie. And when I found out that they
take your time with it.
Yeah, it means a lot.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Take your time with it. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Asia Johnson, and my question is more geared towards Ryan and Danai as a director and a writer. And I want to know, do you guys think, after witnessing the major box office success that Black Panther's already having before the movies come out, do you think we're going to see more diversification in lead roles and screenwriters working in films, or do you think this is going to translate to an increase in production budgets raised by Black filmmakers from major studios?
I grew up. Look, man. Yeah, Chad got me in my in my feelings a little.
Let me step away.
Yeah, no, you good.
Do your thing, bro.
You good, man. You good, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chadwick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
bro.
But I mean, look, for us, for me, how I came up, man. I played football like my whole life, and I played receiver. You know what I mean? Like, and I dropped a lot of passes, and the ones I would drop was always the ones when I was thinking about what I was gonna do once I caught it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna catch this. I'm gonna get a safety to dead leg, hit the spin move, and I'm gonna get to the sideline. And I'm ghost, and I'm seeing it, and then next thing you know, the ball on the ground. And my teammates like, cool, what happened? You know what I'm saying? and in my mind, I had scored. You feel me? But I ain't take the time to catch the ball, look it in, secure it, and then go about it. So for me, for us, man, nothing's promised, man. I'm from a place where, Sway could tell you, man, absolutely nothing's promised. Like I done seen one of the best football players I ever knew, a man named Terrence Kelly, who I knew was going to the NFL, like who signed for the Oregon Ducks. You know what I'm saying? In Richmond, and we knew was going on to go do great things. And I saw him get smoked the night before he was supposed to leave. You know what I'm saying? And we had already seen his NFL career. We had seen his jersey retirement. We had seen everything. And he was taken from us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, I'm just trying to get to Friday. You know what I'm saying? Like, let the movie come out. You know what I mean? And let folks see it. Let folks enjoy it. And we'll go from there. Like, people say pre-sales and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, man, for me, I'm just trying to get people to watch the film. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll go from there. And when the ball in the air, if it comes in the air again, make sure we catch it. You know what I mean? And then run.
Yeah, I mean, I think and that's so powerful, because it is about what I'm excited that I'm seeing is there are a lot of people, thinking about securing the story, securing the narrative. I love how he always goes to football. I mean, he did it with real sense. I love it. It just makes everything very clear. Though I don't play the game at all, never have. My family's really into it, though. My parents went to Penn State and all. They're really happy right now about the Eagles, but the component of of securing that narrative, I think it's on everybody. It's on everybody to do it. It's not a question of will they let us do it again? Will they? Forget the they. Just do. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I'm seeing more and more is folks are just doing. Like, this man came straight out of USC and just did Fruitvale. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wrote this astounding story, found an astounding actor, and did his thing. You know what I mean? And well, yeah, I mean, it's like do what you're called to do. You know what I mean? I think the more folks are doing that, like, I always admired him long before I knew him because of what he did with what he had. And I think that's the calling on each of us. Just do what you can do with what you have. I mean, Lupita is doing what she can do. She picks up narratives she loves, and she says, I want to get this made, you know, and I won't put you on blast about everything you're doing, but she doing some stuff, and she approached me about something that we're now working on and creating a miniseries out of, you know, and that's another African narrative. So, you know, she's doing her thing, you know what I mean? So folks, you know, do you in your space, and more of this will come to pass, and people won't be able to deny its excellence.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We may have time for two quick questions. Quick answers.
Very quick.
Okay,
Very quick.
go ahead. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Terry Engelhard. My question is, if Wakanda was real, would you want to live there?
Yes. Yeah. That's a quick one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Go quicker than that. Chuck
How's everybody doing? My name's Chuck Creekmore from allhiphop.com. I had an artsy intellectual question, but I wanted to ask any of you, how have our melanin deficient brothers and sisters been receiving? I've heard a variety of things.
What do you mean by that, Chuck?
Be plain, brother. Be plain.
Let's be clear.
Yeah. I'll jump in on that. Look, like we set out to make a film that tells a specific story, but tells a story that at the same time is universal. You know, and I think that's what's really cool about comic books. You know what I mean? Like I Sway said he a comic book head. You know, I'm a comic book head, and I used to read. I read X-Men, I read Spider-Man, I read Batman. You know, somebody tell me it's a Batman movie getting made, I'm the first to buy my ticket. You know what I'm saying? Batman was always, you know, he was always white. Never had a problem with that. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it. When Batman was in danger, I bite my nails. You know what I'm saying? and when Batman knocked somebody out, I feel like I knocked somebody out too. You feel me? And as human beings, we got the capacity to relate to anybody. You know, we evidence of that. You know what I'm saying? Because so many pop culture stories, you know, the people don't look like us, and yet we still can rock with it. And I think if we did our job right, it's no reason why this can't work the other way around. Yeah. You know, there's no reason why it can't. I mean, we got evidence that, you know, our head producer is white. You know, Kevin Feige, the cat who said, "Yo, we gonna make Black Panther 4 years ago." You know, and every day we in the cut working and looking at it, man. I look over in his eyes, and his eyes glowing. He watching, you know what I'm saying? And his son, he brought his son in the office. You know, they got Marvel Studios. They paint murals all over their walls of you know, Iron Man flying, doing this. You know, Thor swinging a hammer in the Hulk face. You know what I'm saying? These are real murals in the office. And he told me he brought his young son in there. And his young son ran straight over to the Black Panther mural, you know, and this Panther walking up to it, and it's not Panther in the suit. I mean, it's Chad, you know what I'm saying, a black man, you know what I'm saying, in an African, you know, West African style tunic, you know what I'm saying, and he walked up to him and was like looking up at him, you know what I'm saying, and it's a baby who ain't been told yet, you know, he ain't supposed to look at, you know, and that's the one he ran over to,
wow.
You know, look, and our story is an African story, man, you know, and what African means is to be human. That's where human beings came from. You feel me? So I believe, you know, that you know, anybody can watch our movie and rock with it. You know, I hope so. You know, we'll see.
And they are. I mean, there's been such amazing responses I've seen from people who've watched it and who are melanin deficient, as you say. But I mean, there was also another amazing woman from Marvel, Victoria Alonso, and she told me her 6-year-old daughter saw the Dora Milaje and came to her and said, I need to shave my head. Right. I need to shave my head today. Wow. And she's looking at some sisters, you know, with bald heads, you know, and soldiers. So
and it's translating around the world. We went to South Korea, and first of all, the reception there was spellbinding. It was like we were the Beatles and Michael Jackson, and you know, all rolled in one. And there was such an embracing of it. And the next day, after the journalists had seen the film, they walked into our rooms in their traditional garb. So this story is about embracing of self, you know, embracing of your identity, where you're from, knowing where you're from, being proud of where you're from, celebrating where you're from. And that is really transcending, the culture of this particular film?
Wow, we could do this all day, y'all. Let's give a big round of applause to all our subscribers that came today, our colleagues, our co-workers. Michael, I love you, man. Congratulations. Lupita, love you too. Letitia Wright too, who couldn't be here for whatever reasons. Chadwick, man, let's all give that man a virtual hug. Danai, I love your energy.
Yes.
And Ryan, man, you bringing me to tears, bro. You taking the baton in Northern California and across the globe, man. You making us all proud, man. And you're a beacon of light, bro.
Man, likewise, bro. I used to listen to you on my way to school, bro. So.
That man's a citizen of Sway in the morning too. He listens to the Wake Up Show. That's right,
Is
man.
he a Raiders fan?
You a Raiders fan?
Man, it's complicated.
Oh, God. Dang, man. I'll go. Couldn't end on a high note.
I'm a Warriors fan.
Okay, there you go,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler.
All the places they got two teams, man, it's tricky.
It is tricky.
Like football, baseball, it's tricky at the crib. But
You cool with Marshawn, though, right?
Marshawn, my homie. I grew up with Marshawn.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it. You should be a Raiders fan.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, guys.
I like Kaepernick.
I love Kaepernick. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations, man. I think in the years to come, we'll look back at this moment, this synergy that you guys created, and understand it's going to have an important part in our history, culturally and otherwise, in our communities as well. Congratulations. Thank you for a job well done. This is the type of movie you can see 3 or 4 times at minimum, so make sure you do it. Give it up for all the Black Panther staff and cast and everybody affiliated. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you to EW as well and all our team at Sway in the Morning on Shade 4-5. And on that note, get your tickets, go see the movie. All right? Thank you.